Hey, it's the preacher. I got water boiling. Been waiting for water to boil. Alright, what you saw me do there was dump rice in boiling water. You just cook rice however you want. We're going to make Mexican chicken today. This is probably one of my favorite dishes, and it's probably one of the easiest dishes I ever make. And we typically make it one batch at a time, and I'm going to give you the recipe for that. All I'm doing today, because I'm feeding so many more people, is I'm going to make 4 times what I normally make. And when I usually make it, it's enough for our family of 4, and then we have leftovers, and then we eat on it for a couple days. So one batch makes quite a bit, and you can determine how much you want to make by how much rice you add. So our version of Mexican chicken, my wife, this was one of the first dishes I can remember her making after we got married. I used to take this to work when I worked in a factory on night shift, and I started letting other people eat what I couldn't eat because it made so much. There was just 2 of us. And anyways, I started sharing it around, and they were all going on, and it's so easy, even guys that worked in the factory could make it. So let me tell you about it. All right, everything I need is right here. First thing you want to do is start with chicken. You can start with a whole bird. You can do breast. Chicken breast was on sale at the local grocery store in my area, which is Shoppers Value. They had boneless, skinless chicken breasts for $1.18 a pound. Man, that's pretty cheap. So what we do is we boil the chicken breast and then cut it up in little pieces. Then we chop up onion and put in it. And so this is enough to do 4 batches. You say, preacher, how much? I would say 2 to 3 chicken breasts. 2 to 3 halves of a chicken breast, depending on how big of a chicken you got. Some of these modern chickens, they're rivaling a turkey. So it's not an exact science, but boil your chicken, cut it up. If you got leftover chicken, part of a rotisserie, that's fine too. Just chicken, okay? That's all you need to worry about. Get you some chicken and some onion. You're going to need, next of all, you're going to need some Velveeta cheese. This takes about a half a box. Since I'm making 4 batches, I've got 2 boxes. You're going to need some cream of chicken soup, cream of mushroom soup, and Rotel or Road Gold. The tomatoes with the onions and the peppers and all that in there. There's your mix. You're going to need 8 ounces of sour cream. This is your sauce. Chicken is your base, and you're going to serve it over rice. Okay? At home, we have a pan of the sauce and the chicken, and we scoop however much rice we want out, and then we put the sauce over it, and we eat it with tortilla chips. Here, on the other hand, I'm going to lay the rice in a pan, put the sauce over it. That way I can keep it all warm, and the rice won't dry out. Rice gets real gummy and tacky, and sometimes it even gets hard. I would say if you're going to store this like leftovers, we used to store a dill of rice and a dill of chicken, and we just mix it all up now, and that keeps the rice moist. So let me get to browning this chicken up in a little butter. I've got a little bit of butter here, and I'll brown that up in an electric skillet. And while it's starting to brown, I'll be cutting up my Velveeta into cubes so that it melts quicker, and then I'll be dumping half my canned goods in there. And I'll kind of show you what it looks like when we get done. Show you what we got going on. Alright, I've added a little taco seasoning, not a lot, and I just added it because I got the wrong. This was supposed to be more like Rotel. Instead, it's like stewed tomatoes with sauce, or I don't know. It's not exactly right, so we're going to have to wing it, okay? So I added a little taco seasoning to get that flavor back, and the first thing I'm going to dump in here is the tomatoes. And since they're big chunks and not little bitty ones, I'm going to have to try to break them up. I'm also going to use that liquid to get anything that's stuck on the bottom of the pan. you have to keep in mind our chicken was already cooked. Since it's already cooked, we don't have to worry about whether it was done all the way or anything like that. We're just trying to soften up the onions. So, that got the little brown bits that they're always talking about on the TV shows. Man, are y'all steaming up? That got the little brown bits off there. Let me just chop up with my spatula as much as I can some of these big giant tomatoes. Electric skillet's a good way to do this, especially this is a double batch in here right now. So there. I'm going to add some salt and pepper. There's some pepper. Season it to your taste. You're not eating unless you're putting a little Lowry seasoned salt on it. You're just subsisting. Why put salt on there when you could put seasoned salt on there? I mean, I buy this stuff in great big bottles and I just keep refilling my old shaker. So, just remember, everything you're seeing here is a double batch. I'm making 4 batches, so I'm making 2 batches of a double. And if you're a congressman and you can't do math, that's 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay? Alright, now we got that in there. It's time just to start dumping cans and Velveeta. Here is a whole stick of Velveeta. Alright, now we just want to break up the chunks. We need to cook this. I've turned the heat down just a little bit. We need to cook it until all the Velveeta is melted. Doesn't look too good now, but trust me, we're going somewhere with this, alright? If you're making this at home and you're not trying to feed 40 people, just put 1 can of cream of mushroom. I'm going to be putting 2 because remember I'm making a double batch. There we go. Now we just want to keep stirring until we're no longer seeing chunks of Velveeta. And it'll kind of get more uniform in color as well. You won't see these big red, orangey spots and yellow spots. So by stirring this around, we're going to get everything melted, everything all together. I have, at times, just turned this down real low, like to just 200 maybe, or warm, and put the lid on it, and just let it set if I had other things to do. Looks a lot more creamy after that Velveeta starts to melt and break, and everything kind of gets stirred around. Remember, I'm making 2 batches at a time. So if you were doing this, it would be 1 can of cream of mushroom soup, 1 can cream of chicken, 1 can of diced tomatoes, and then you would be adding only 8 ounces of sour cream at the end. So once you get to where you're no longer seeing Velveeta chunks, now you want to stir in your sour cream. And I always do this last. And I don't know why I do it last. Maybe because it's cold and it slows the process of melting the Velveeta. Maybe that's why I do it. I just always wait. I love sour cream. Some people in my family do not, and they love this dish because they do not know that it has sour cream in it. So as long as they do not watch this video, they will keep eating sour cream and loving it. Remember, the chicken's cooked, the onions have been cooked till they're translucent. We just need to get it stirred together now and get the cream, the sour cream, evenly distributed throughout it. I'm going to say it again because I know somebody in the comments is going to get confused. This is 2 batches. I'm cooking 2 of these 2 batches for a total of 4 batches. There you have it, rich, creamy. All right, let's unplug this. Put the lid on it. That took about 7 or 8 minutes real time. We'll put the lid on it, it's unplugged, and I'm going to throw away all my cans and my trash, and I'm going to fill a pan up with rice and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, let's see if the preacher can make himself a mess. Let's see if I can catch it all on camera. Look at that. Oh yeah. Alright. The proper kitchen technique right here would be to spoon it over the rice. But I don't have time to spoon it over the rice. I'm busy, okay? So, gonna give it another stir. It's kind of set here for a while. Not a while, set here for 2 or 3 minutes. All the Velveeta has melted. I have half of my rice. To give you an idea of rice here, I started out with 5 cups of rice. So if you were going to make your own and do a single batch, remember I've got 4 times, I'd do about 1.5 cups of rice to 1 batch of the cheesy Mexican casserole. Alright, I've got it all stirred up. I've got it off the bottom. Let's see if I can pour it out here. Oh, that's not too bad. That will wipe right up. Alright, now I just want to kind of level it out. I had a level bed of rice, and I noticed as I poured the cheese and chicken mixture over the top, the rice didn't move. So I don't have rice all pushed to the side, so it's evenly covered. I just want to level it up. We're going to stick some foil over it. Okay, by putting the rice on bottom and the cheese and chicken mixture over the top, we're going to ensure that our rice never dries out. We're going to put the foil over it tightly. We're going to eat in 1 hour and 15 minutes. So this is going to go in the oven at 200 degrees, and that will just maintain its warmth. And I'm going to start that second batch. I'm going to give you a little preacher's pro tip. When you're feeding a big crowd, if you know exactly how many you have, that's great. But if you're dealing with Baptists, you never know who's going to show up. Sometimes it's too rainy. Sometimes it's too nice outside. We never know. So what I do is I fill up a big pan, because I know I'm always going to have a core group of people here. And so what's in that pan, the smallest group we will get, will clean up that pan. Instead of making 2 pans the same size, and then I set out the second whole pan, and they just eat a corner out of it, now I've got this big pan to move around, to send home for leftovers. Fill up a big pan, make that your primary serving dish. If all that's gone and more people than expected show up, set out the second small pan. If they eat all that and they don't get to this one, then this one's all ready just to put foil in and freeze or take home or send out with somebody else. So when I'm serving at church and I'm doing something like a casserole and I'm doing like 4 or 5 recipes, I have 2 batches in one big pan. Then I have 2 batches, 1 in each small pan. And by doing that, that allows me to keep it in the oven so it stays warm, and I can keep it hot as I set it out there. In late arrivals, I don't have to worry about running out of food. Okay? So that'll help you out a lot if you've got to feed a big crowd of people. Let me get this plated up in the oven. I got to work on the salad bar. We're going to eat in about 40 minutes. I'll show you a plate when we get done. Mexican chicken over chips with rice. That's a dinner for you, or dinner for a crowd. Bob brought some pigs in a blanket with jalapenos in them. Try it. You'll like it.